conversation for you guys. So there's three key pillars that we're going to walk you through when it comes to the Dump Disposable campaign and why we created it. And those three are around, so Vishal's going to talk to you about the clean ingredients. And internally we call that on our clean product. Building on that, the second one is around less sugar, and Lisa's going to talk to you about what we're doing there and some of the comparisons that are happening. I'll take the third pillar and talk about Clean Planet. I decided to wear the hat that we all had from the outdoor OR last year, outdoor retail show in Salt Lake City, where we were really, we were actually protesting as an entire industry to try to protect lands in Salt Lake. So I thought I'd wear it with pride. We need to conserve our planet and do the right thing. So we're going to share lots of facts and why Nuun does what it does. Before we get started, if I could, I just wanted to ground everyone on this one. Think about this, guys. 14 years ago, roughly, Nuun started. And I know all of you know Nuun, but you may not know the history of it. And it started and really tried to redefine sports drinks. And we're going to get into that detail of what that looks like. And it really flipped the category on its head. The reason why we're here today is we're sharing a little bit about our philosophy. When we approach innovation, new ideas, what are challenges we want to solve, the question that we ask ourselves is, if we had to start all over again, how would we do it? And when you do that, you don't get handcuffed by the way you've always done it. And you just get a fresh blank start. You go, okay, well then let's go do it this way. So that's kind of a little bit of, if you will, the impetus and the foundation of how we get started. So with that being said, I'm going to jump in. Vishal, how are we doing?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm living the dream.
Yeah.
So here to talk about some clean ingredients. Talk to us about the product suite, if you will, that we have at Nuun and the ingredient philosophy that we have.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm going to start on that second part, the ingredient philosophy first, because, you know, that's really important for us. And it kind of helps guide us through the R&D and the innovation process. So, you know, a couple key, you know, guidelines and philosophies that we always look for in our products when we develop it is that every ingredient has to have a purpose. So, you know, we're not in the game to add a bunch of preservatives or just ingredients that can maybe make the product look nice, but doesn't really function well in your body. So every ingredient in our products have to serve a purpose. We try to source the cleanest ingredients out there. And I say that as an organization, we're committed to sourcing ingredients at the non-GMO level. We have several products right now that are non-GMO project verified, and by the end of this year, all of our products will be at that level and at that standard as well. Another kind of key, you know, key guideline for our product is that the products have to have a specific need state. So we're not just going to make something just to make it. We truly believe that hydration is the fundamental core and principle of health. And we know what great benefits proper hydration can bring. So we like to design products around that, realizing that there's different need states for when you're exercising, when you're sitting, you know, at your desk, or when you're kind of recovering as well. So, you know, we're always trying to source the cleanest. We try to keep everything as close to nature as possible as well. You know, knowing that just more plant-based natural ingredients will work better for your body.
So can we build on that for a second?
Yeah.
So when you think about the clean ingredients, maybe we can do a bit of a, you know, drink this, not that, right? So what would you do for coloring as opposed to red dye number 48?
Yeah, so
and why wouldn't you do red dye number?
Right. Yeah, because a lot of those kind of synthetic dyes and things like that are actually really harmful for your body. You know, as it kind of can build up over time, it can kind of just mess with some normal processes. So there's actually a lot of great plant-based options to, you know, using coloring, colors and things. You know, what I always kind of harp within nutrition is trying to have a balanced intake of multiple color vegetables and things like that. And if you look at it, you know, you can use a lot of those vegetables to get color. Like you can use beets, red and yellow. You can use like spirulina and different plant-based ingredients to try to get those, you know, colors and things like that in a more natural plant-based version.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, that makes complete sense. And I guess, you know, when you think about ingredients having a purpose and leading to the function of your body for better performance, the idea is like a red dye number 48 or whatever that number is. By the
Yeah.
way, if there's a number beside the color, that's probably a good cue for you to say that's not what you want to drink. It has just no function. Its
Right.
sole purpose is to look pretty on a shelf, but it's not necessarily meant to work with your body at all.
Right. Right. Yeah.
All right. So talk to us about what do we got going on here?
Yeah, so we have, you know, we're proud to now have quite a big suite of products. It's taken a while for us to build this suite. And, you know, Kevin was talking a little bit earlier about the history of the sports drink. So, you know, 14 years ago, we started with these guys, you know, it was called Nuun Active back then. We've reformulated it since the original product to make it cleaner, more plant-based, kind of using a lot of those guidelines and those principles we just talked about and incorporating that into the product. And, you know, 14, you know, years ago, and even right now, there was a problem with just a high amount of sugar in sport drinks. And what our founder at that time knew was that you don't need all that sugar for just hydration. And there wasn't a portable option out there either. So, you know, it's hard to go on a 2-3 hour bike ride and carry, you know, 2-3 bottles of water. So, you know, the purpose of Nuun's kind of flagship product is what I call it, which was known as Nuun Active back then, but now it's Nuun Electrolytes, is just that. It has just the electrolytes in there to help you rehydrate. Low calorie, low sugar, just electrolytes that you can use for really like, it's such a versatile product that we usually recommend if you're exercising under 90 minutes to stick with our Nuun Electrolytes or the Electrolytes plus caffeine, which essentially has the same base electrolytes, but just gives you a little bit extra boost with some organic green tea extract in there.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Are all electrolytes created equal? Like, what is an electrolyte? Why do we put it in a product? Why do we need this?
Right. Yeah. So all electrolytes aren't created equal. You know, each one of them do serve kind of a great function in your body. You know, the technical definition of electrolyte is that they're tiny electrical particles. They help regulate a lot of things. They help regulate just body water balance. They help regulate your blood and just make sure that, you know, when you're exercising or when you're at rest, oxygen is flowing through your blood. That's what the fundamental goals of hydration does. And electrolyte will help you pull that water to absorption so you can hydrate. So they're very, very important. The sources of them and the levels of the electrolytes are also important. Just kind of helped us learn over the last 10 to 15 years about their true role. So when we started with, you know, the active and then the electrolytes with caffeine, we realized that when you're at rest, you don't really need that high amount of electrolytes. You do need electrolytes, but you actually need less sodium and more potassium. So then that kind of morphed our product suite into Nuun Vitamins, which kind of is your daily kind of hydration product. It has lower electrolytes, was only 100 milligrams of sodium as compared to 360, which you need about 3 to 360 milligrams of sodium when you are exercising. But when you're at rest, you don't need that much. You just need a little bit to pull the water in. And then we increase the potassium level because that's really important electrolyte for when you're at rest. And then it just has like a minor blend of 5 different vitamins that are generally underconsumed by you know, athletes and the general consumer to help you just keep your energy levels constant and just make sure that you're hydrating, drinking water that actually tastes good and is functional, because, you know, water on its own isn't quite enough. You need electrolytes in there to make sure that you're holding on to that water.
So on vitamins, when I think about the development that you and the team did on this one, why didn't you put higher levels of vitamins in it?
Yeah, so for a couple of reasons, you want your vitamin intake.
More is better, right?
Yeah, no,
No?
yeah,
Oh.
a lot of people think that, but that's actually not true. You want you don't want to overload your body essentially, and sometimes when certain products have too high amount of vitamins, your body isn't going to use it all. It's just going to take what it needs at that time, and then the rest of it's going to essentially just go to waste or when you can excrete it through various ways as well. So yeah,
In other words, I was in the washroom.
right, yeah, yeah. Okay. We wanted a lower intake of them, so you can have 3 to 4 of them throughout the day, and it just makes your hydration, better and not as boring as just drinking plain water.
Okay, and there's a third one here that we just launched that I'm really stoked about. Talk to us about this.
Yeah, so the Nuun Immunity is our newest product. Really, really excited about this product. In my mind, this is really one of our first products that is truly a specialized function, where this product was absolutely designed to help support and defend your immune system. So we took a lot of the hydration research that we learned from electrolytes and vitamins with our electrolyte blend. We incorporated that into Nuun Immunity to make sure that you are drinking fluids, because when you're sick or you're going through a high training phase or you just got done exercising, your immune system is suppressed, and one of the key parts of making sure your immune system can kind of get more healthy is to hydrate. So the base of that product is electrolytes, like all of our products. And then it has a more higher dosage of vitamins A, C, D, E, which are 4 key antioxidants, as well as selenium and zinc. So it's got some antioxidants between vitamins and minerals, and what real highlight of this product is our proprietary botanical blend. So we're using echinacea and elderberry, which helps kind of increase the antioxidants. So think, if you have a cold or a flu, that you need antioxidants. If you have a cough or a sore throat, you need anti-inflammatories, and the turmeric and the ginger help with that anti-inflammatory. So, vitamins is really meant to be consumed throughout the day. And Nuun Immunity is, you can drink it every day. One serving is kind of like a preventative. But when you're really kind of feeling a cold, or, if flu season's coming along, or you're going through a higher phase in training, you can up the dose of it to just make sure your body kind of protects itself.
Yeah, that makes sense. I love this product. One of what's different about this, a little background for you guys, a little, as we call it, behind the scenes scenario. When we were developing this product, we looked at a lot of different helping your immune system, right? And boost your immune system, defense system. And what we found was, we actually, I think Lisa might have coined the term, it was a bit of a vitamin C arms race. Mm-hmm. And basically what you were seeing is, I got 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, I got 2,000, I got 3,000. And it was what the consumer has almost been trained to hear. Mm-hmm. And what we really did was said, if we had to start all over again, how would we do this? Right. And that's when Vishal goes, well, I would put vitamin C in it, but it wouldn't be all about vitamin C. I would have a 3-pronged approach, mm-hmm. right? The 3-pronged approach is, does it have anti-inflammatories, right? Does it have antioxidants, which is your vitamin C in there, correct? Yep. But also, is it a hydrating product, right? Which is why there's electrolytes in here as well, because it's going to help flush through your system. So absolutely critical. I do have a question for you on this one. Mm-hmm. On this product, we have the non-GMO project certification. Yep. Why non-GMO? Start with that, is why non-GMO, period. And then why non-GMO on this one and our performance product, and what's happening in the rest?
Yeah, so why non-GMO? One of the biggest reasons for that is the purity of the ingredients. So when we source everything at non-GMO level, and when the products are non-GMO verified, you can ensure that the vitamins, minerals, all the nutrients in there are of the purest level. So think about it as, you know, if you're eating an apple, you want to make sure when that seed of that apple wasn't adulterated or kind of modified in a lab by, you know, a scientist in any way. You want just the seed to naturally grow into the soil to eat an apple. So that's what our non-GMO verification does. It ensures that whatever helped grow that vitamin, that mineral from its plant source, it wasn't adulterated, it wasn't modified. So we were really excited to launch, you know, the first effervescent tablet out there, period, that is non-GMO project verified. You will see us slowly transition the rest of our products into that. Where, you know, some of them will be ready in the fall, and some of the other ones will be ready towards the winter and onto next year too. But really, the non-GMO, our first non-GMO project verified product, this our performance, which was also our first product that veered away from the tablet. Now we all love the tablets; they're extremely portable. They're great, and what I just absolutely love about our electrolytes line is it's such a versatile product. You can truly use it anytime you sweat. And because that's what you need when you sweat. You need water and electrolytes. You don't need a lot of sugar or calories. You just need the electrolytes to kind of replace it. Now, performance, what we learned with, you know, in our partnership with Dr. Stacy Sims, who is a world-renowned kind of exercise physiologist, was that, you know, when you're exercising for longer periods of time, the electrolytes and hydration are really, really important. But you need a little bit of carbohydrates in there because when you're exercising for longer, your body's more stressed, and the carbohydrates will actually help pull the water and to make you hydrate better. So through our partnership with her, we learned a lot about endurance-based hydration. We coupled our kind of sourcing guidelines and our expertise there to launch Nuun Performance.
Love it. This is what it comes in at. These are the single serve pouches for those of you who haven't seen it. Also comes in a multiple purchase pouch, as we call it. Anything else to add on the portfolio there, Vishal?
You know, what I will say is that we're always going to continue to look for filling need states and things like that. You know, whether it's helping you recover better, helping you, you know, sleep better, or, you know, defending and helping boost your immune system. So without kind of giving away too much, I'll say that we're always the funnel is filled, I think, is what Kevin, you always say, and we have great ideas and great things that we're excited to launch in the future.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I think the takeaway for you guys, if you have any ideas, whether it's product or marketing, always shoot them over. We're always willing to listen to those. And to Vishal's point, you know, as we continue to get cleaner and cleaner and better, we're going to go there. Here's an insight for you guys who might appreciate on this, and how Nuun's kind of started to push the curve on clean ingredients and the level of where we're sourcing our ingredients. So the sport nutrition industry typically has been all about performance at all costs. Case in point, steroids, right? And doping is an issue, which is not good. And we can talk about clean sport another time. But nonetheless, so you've got this issue of it was all about performance at all costs. And then over time, what all of us as consumers are demanding, and quite frankly, rightfully so, is how do I get the performance without sacrificing? And in fact, how do I get the cleanest product without sacrificing performance? And that's a real paradigm shift that we've seen happen over the last 10 years, roughly. And it's getting magnified more and more. I'm going to switch to my right, your left, and chat a little bit with Lisa. As I told you, Lisa leads our marketing team. And if you're not familiar with marketing in a business sense, beyond what you see out there as the branding, she's the big brain behind strategy in terms of where we're going to take this and how do we better communicate and connect with all of you out there. So it's a critical role as is Vishal's of the development and the science behind it. Now it's like, how do we explain this? And actually, how do we make it something very challenging and complicated and go distill it down, which someone could argue is even a tougher job, is really, really challenging.
No, Vishal's is harder.
You're right.
Let's be honest.
You're right. I grew up as a marketer, so I'm with you. This is way harder. So on that note, we're going to talk about, excuse me, sugar. And sugar's getting a little bit of the bad rap lately.
Yeah, so sugar's getting a bad rap lately, and you could say we're on trend, or you could say that we're ahead of the trend. So if we go back to the beginning of sports drinks, you know, Gatorade arguably was the inventor of sports drinks back in Florida in what year, Kevin?
1964, I believe.
In 1964, before any of us were born. So in 1964, Gatorade did something that was actually really good. They brought electrolytes and hydration together for the people who were sweating in the hot Florida sun. And these were athletes at University of Florida, the Gators, which is how they got to Gatorade. And it was basically electrolytes, less sugar than they have today in Gatorade, and water. And boy, it helped that football team do well. And it created a multi-billion-dollar brand, right? And we all know Gatorade. I have to admit, I avoided giving Gatorade at all costs to my kids when they were little because I knew about the sugar in it. And I looked at it and I said, you know, if my kids are running around for 5 minutes on the soccer field in between quarters, they don't need that stuff. So I knew that intuitively as a mom long before I worked at Nuun. But one of the things that I learned once I started working here is that if you are exercising for less than 90 minutes, your body keeps enough carbohydrates on board. You have it already in your blood from the food you've eaten throughout the day, et cetera. You don't need any external source of carbohydrates. And that was the insight behind Nuun. And so one of the things that we think about in marketing is how do we bring this to life? And so the first thing we did to bring it to life was what I call our sugar demo. And I'm going to take you through it. I'm going to be moving around a little, so hopefully you won't get too busy. But this is how I started to visualize it. And that is, if we look at a Nuun tablet right here, right? I'm going to actually bring it up to the...
Go right up to the camera.
Yes, I'm going to go right up here. So we've all seen...
Oh, it's the laptop.
Oh, where is the laptop? Okay.
Okay.
So you can see it. Okay, so here's the Nuun so here's a Nuun tablet. It has 1 gram of sugar. So if you look at this, this is 1 gram of sugar. You can kind of see it at the bottom there, right?
Yeah.
That sugar helps the tablet be absorbed into your bloodstream and adds a little of the sweetness, and the rest of the sweetness comes from stevia. Now let's look at a Gatorade. Here we have, now this is a 24-ounce Gatorade. So pretend this is 16 ounces because they don't sell it in 16 ounces anymore that I could find easily. But 16 ounces of Gatorade, 27 grams of sugar. Look at all that sugar. So 27 grams of sugar in 1 bottle of Gatorade. So here we have 1 versus 1, right? Now let's look at a tube of Nuun. So you got 10 servings of Nuun. So imagine you might drink this, you know, if you're like me, you drink this in about a week because I'm working out hard right now, and so I'm drinking a couple a day. And what that gives me is that gives me 10 grams of sugar in the week. So 10 grams of sugar, 10 servings. Yeah, I can handle that. I burn that pretty quickly. If we look at Gatorade, here's our 10 servings of Gatorade. It's 8 bottles, but here what we have, 270 grams of sugar. That's almost 10 ounces of sugar. That's a huge amount of sugar. You know what I could eat for this? I mean, it's kind of crazy, right? So that could be a typical week. You don't need that sugar for your workout. You don't actually need that at any, you need it in your daily life, of course. But gosh, you don't need it during your workout. It doesn't help you. And it can actually weigh you down because what happens is your body doesn't need it. It can actually cause stomach problems. I don't know how many of you guys have done this where you've taken in a sports drink and suddenly you're having gastric distress, which is a polite word for stomach issues, during your run or your bike or whatever. You have to stop. It stinks, right? But now let's take it one step further. Let's take an 8-pack of Nuun. I don't know if any of you guys buy it by the 8-pack, but we sure do. This is how we sell it in the store. We have 80 servings of Nuun. So for me, that's like, you know, month and a half worth of Nuun, depending on how much I'm training. Here's how much sugar we have. 80 grams of sugar. That's about a little under 3 ounces of sugar.
Want some help with this?
Compare that with an 8-pack of Gatorade. Now let's look at the equivalent in Gatorade. Yeah, and I would love some help.
I figured.
We have this one, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In the middle, sure. So we have 8 packs of Gatorade here, minus a couple that fell out, because by the way, the little plastic rings do break over time, and we haven't wanted to buy any more. So this is 8 packs of Gatorade. And I'm going to come over here now. Check this out. Can you guys see here? Look at this. Take that. Now, add this, add this, add this, and add this. All of that sugar, 2,160 grams of sugar. So if you're working out a lot and you're drinking Gatorade, in a couple of months, you can take in 2,160 grams of sugar, which is, by the way, 9,000 calories. So this is why we do what we do, because we believe that there's a better way than this. Now, there are 2 asides here that are probably really obvious to all of you guys. The first is, look at what we ship. To get you 80 servings, we ship this. This weighs 1 pound, 3 ounces. We ship it, we send it to the store, you stick it in your bike jersey and use your reusable water bottle like this. You add water to it, ready to go. All of this Gatorade, it is 80 pounds, right? Because you've got 16-ounce servings, each one's a pound. So 80 pounds of water gets shipped from Gatorade to a distribution center. It gets shipped from a distribution center to a retail store. It gets taken from a retail store, goes in the trunk of your car, goes home to your house, and then you carry it around all these places. It is a tremendous use of resources. It's a tremendous waste of our natural resources. And then what do you have when you're done? You've got 80 single-use bottles and 8 of these plastic bird killers that are going to go into a landfill somewhere. Now, one of the things we know is those are going to get recycled. So this is not good for your body. It's not good for your workouts. It's not good for the environment for all of those reasons. So when we talk about why do we do what we do, this is why that is. And Mason, can you pull up the chart? Because I want you guys to see the numbers. And we're not picking on Gatorade, by the way. We pick on them basically because they're the biggest guys. They've got a big enough business. We can pick on them. It's not really going to hurt them that much, although our aspiration is to hurt them and put them out of business. Not because we want them to go out of business, but because we want people to be healthier. So if we look here, so this is the sugar grams. We have the calories, and then we have the weight of all of it. So we love this demo. For us, it's super compelling. If I ever need a little motivation, I just pull out that sugar thing, and all of us are like, oh my gosh, we don't want this. But here's the other thing. A little secret in the inside of Nuun. There are about 60 people in the company. About 30 of us work in Nuun HQ here in Seattle. And whenever we have a birthday, you know what we do? We celebrate retreats. You know what we do whenever there's some sort of, when somebody new starts, we celebrate retreats. All of us, or most of us, adhere to like that 80-20 rule that says 80% of the time you eat like an athlete, you eat clean, you eat real food, et cetera, and 20% of the time you have some treats, right? We love our ice cream, we love our donuts, we love our cookies. So we're not saying never have sugar. We're not an anti-sugar company. What we say is, gosh, if you're gonna have sugar, it should be delicious and it should be worth it. And I've actually been saying, frankly, as a female, I've been saying that for years. Like, I want to eat my sugar. I have never drank things with calories other than wine, because I think that's it's like, I want to really, really enjoy it. And that was the insight behind the ad campaign that we created to really bring this difference to life. So if you're watching us right now, you should be able to see our sugar campaign that we launched. That's really the first in a series of sort of brand anthems, like the What Do We Believe? So we believe that this much sugar belongs in ice cream, not in your sports drink. And we call it the Clean Up Your Drink campaign. So Clean Up Your Drink has a couple of parts. It's to clean up your drink, with a healthier sports drink with 1 gram of sugar and 10 calories instead of the 28 grams of sugar that you would find in 2 scoops of ice cream. So we look at it, we say, drink Nuun when you work out and then go eat the ice cream afterwards. So we're not saying never eat ice cream. We're not saying never eat donuts. Gosh, that would be, that would ruin our genuineness in a heartbeat. So we created this campaign to bring it to life, potentially getting it in really a lighthearted way. And the other thing is, as a marketer, what I know is that if I see a delicious ice cream or donut or cookies in my Facebook feed or my Instagram feed, I like that a lot more than if I see a container of sugar or if I see a container of Gatorade. So that attracts that attracts people's attention. And really what we're trying to do is we're trying to spread this message and spread this word. So we're trying to do that as much as possible. So that is the campaign. I'm not sure how many of you guys have seen it because we are trying to show it mostly to people who are not familiar with Nuun. So if you haven't seen it come up in your Facebook feed or your Instagram feed or as you're browsing online, please don't be offended. It's not that we don't care about you enough to try and advertise to you. It's you're part of our family already, and so we want to, we want to spread the love.
Have you, Lisa? I have a question for you. Have you seen any statistics or data out there that talks about how much sugar people are consuming?
I haven't. Gosh, I wish I could remember the numbers right now.
I can't either.
But here's the good news. Mm-hmm. People realize they're consuming too much sugar, and the number is coming down.
Yeah.
I believe we've seen a 5 to 10% decrease in daily sugar consumption on average around the country over the last decade.
Yeah.
However, the absolute number is still pretty high.
Yeah.
And if you talk to nutritionists, physicians, people, scientists who study our obesity epidemic in the U.S., what they say is that sugar drinks are a major contributor. And one of the reasons it contributes is that physiologically, when you drink a sugary drink, you don't get the satiety that you will get if you eat. So your brain doesn't register that you've just taken in all of this and it still wants more. So in every system changes, happens differently. So that's not true for everyone in every situation, but it is something, talk to experts, and what they'll say is that this is an issue for our society, not just for athletes.
Yeah, and when you were saying it, it almost like this addiction, right? This crave, you want to keep going, and your brain almost can't help but tell you to take in more. Some interesting things is sugar has been associated with basically driving obesity, chronic inflammation, talking about what Vishal was talking about, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and then cancer as well. So, it's a real challenge. That being said, I wanted to share a little story with everyone. Lisa likes to talk about Nuun is a very inclusive brand, and I 100% agree with her. And I think if I could coin your phrase is, it's because we're an active lifestyle company. Everyone at Nuun believes in moving more. And that, by the way, could mean just walking more, but we just want people to move more, and that's our mission. And so, one of the ways that Lisa talks about our consumers, it's from the from the back of the pack to the front of the pack, or vice versa, meaning it's for everyone. And so, if I could, maybe let me share also a story of someone at the front of the pack on this one. So, if Jeremy Powers is listening, I apologize. I'm sharing your story, Jeremy, but it was actually a conversation that I was having. It was me and Jeremy and Vishal, and as well as Dr. Stacy Sims. And it was in this conversation we learned from Jeremy. So if you don't know who he is, I think he is going to come back this year. Well, I think he's still determining that himself. But nonetheless, he's an elite pro cyclocross athlete. He's an incredible cyclist. This guy is at the top of the game. He is the best of the best. So get this. He is having some challenges with stomach issues, and he couldn't figure out what was going on. And so he went and he would talk to Vishal, and he talked to Stacy, and then he went to see some doctors. And basically the conclusion, and it helped him, he fixed it, is his gut health was way off. Mm-hmm. And his gut health was way off as an elite cyclist because he was consuming too much sugar. Yes, he uses Nuun, but it wasn't Nuun. Let me explain the diet. This will resonate with you guys. Jeremy eats very clean. Very clean. He has his 20% treats, so I agree with Lisa there, and he would as well. So that wasn't the issue. The issue if you think about this elite athlete, so if you guys are training this hard and you're consuming carbs at all these times, think about the cumulative effect over time. And this is what happened to Jeremy. He trains likely 2 to 3 times a day. And so when he trains 2 to 3 times a day, he's taking in sugar and carbohydrates to prepare for it. He's taking in sugar and carbohydrates while he's exercising on the morning session. And then he's also doing it in his protein drink or something like that as well. So he's taking sugar on sugar on sugar 3 times a day, every week, every year for decades.
And that's like gels and shot blocks and things like that.
Yeah, and I don't think he's anti that, meaning don't do any blocks or don't do any gels. But to Lisa's point, those are the type of things he's taking in this fuel. What he had to stop and realize, it goes, how do I really get this balance back while competing at the top level? And so he cleaned out sugar completely for a while to get his gut health back in track. When he was able to do that, then he started to introduce some sugars back, because he does need the carbohydrates. He does need the fuel, as Vishal would tell you. But at that magnitude, that cumulative effect just was absolutely detrimental. So I thought I'd share that story with you. I don't know, Lisa, if you have anything else to add on sugar. Otherwise, I'll go to Clean Planet.
I actually had a question for Vishal, because I'm going to hand the microphone. So I'm going to ask him the question, and I'll come back and I'll hand the microphone over to him. And that is, so I'm going to be blunt with everyone. Before I worked at Nuun, a long time before I discovered Nuun, I used to think I'm fine as an endurance athlete when I was training for marathons, etc. I eat bananas in the morning, I drink water in my run, and then I eat pretzels afterwards. I'm like, hey, I get my electrolytes. I have my potassium, I have my sodium. Yeah. Since I started drinking Nuun, one of the reasons I'm here, and one of the reasons I believe so passionate in this is such a functional product. I feel and I perform so much better when I drink Nuun than before when I used to not. And even now, if I miss a day or something, there is such a functional difference between the two. So my math of I am eating and drinking my electrolytes over time doesn't foot. But I've always wondered why that is. And I have never asked you that question. So I'm going to put you on the spot now and ask you, why is that different? Why is it that drinking a Nuun is different than consuming them eventually over time?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. So I think one of the first things when we started, I was talking about what the fundamental goal of hydration is, and it is to move oxygen, to get oxygen circulating within your blood. So, when you drink something that has the right electrolytes and things like that, it's just going to provide oxygen to your muscles. Now, in order to actually have that occur, you need something in the fluids to help move that water. So, a couple of things that we talked about earlier was, all electrolytes aren't created equal. So, the salt in your pretzel is just sodium chloride. It's just your typical table salt. It's fine for flavor enhancement. Adding it on, if you're cooking and things like that. And then you have water, just plain water. There's nothing in it. We refer to water as having an osmolarity of 0. Now, the osmolarity is this key component. And what osmolarity means is it's how concentrated a solution is. So how much stuff is in there. Now, your blood has a normal osmolarity of about 250. So that's a healthy range to make sure oxygen's flowing, your body's hydrated, et cetera, et cetera. Now, when you take Nuun, we actually designed the product to have slightly lower osmolarity than your blood, but more than water. And that happy medium is what allows the fluids to get into circulation. So that's why you feel better, because the electrolytes that are in Nuun creates an osmolarity in the water, creates a concentration in the water that your body naturally uptakes. So your body's going to feed and it's going to want that. When you drink plain water, like over and over and over again, you may notice you'll get bloating because the water is just sitting in your stomach. That also happens when you drink highly sugared products like your Gatorade or your traditional sport drink. There's too much sugar in there where your body either needs to, over time, it'll move the plain water into circulation, or if it's high sugar, it does almost the opposite. Your body is going to start pulling water from your muscles, from your small intestine, to dilute it so it gets into circulation. The last part of it that's really, really important is that source of that electrolyte. So we mentioned sodium chloride, table salt, great for food. You need electrolytes to be in the citrate form. So if you look on the labels of our tablets, you see sodium bicarbonate, sodium carbonate. Now, those bicarbonates will actually, in part of the effervescent, and while that tablet dissolves, I know it looks awesome, but just to watch the tablet dissolve, but there's actually a lot of magic and a lot of science that occurs in that. And what's happening is that the water and the sugar and the little bit of sugar that we have in there and the citric acid is turning that sodium into sodium citrate. Now, sodium citrate, potassium citrate, calcium and magnesium citrate, that's what you'll find in an IV solution. So that is the most absorbable form of electrolyte. So in essence, you feel better with Nuun because we have the right ratio of electrolytes, we have the right source of electrolytes that work with your body to pull the water in.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kevin's mic.
Good call. Like,
Yeah.
all right. Anything else? Let me jump into Clean Planet, and then and Mason over here helping us. We good on questions? Are there any questions that are coming through that we'll need to answer still? Okay. Email them where?
Ambassadors.
Ambassadors at Nuun Life. All right. Awesome. Hey guys, let me talk about the last pillar, which is around Clean Planet. So I wrote down some statistics that are out there. So one, this pledge that you're seeing here, Dump Your Disposable, that the team put together. You may or may not know this, but the bottle that's in front of Lisa here, it's this one that Mason will tell you about what we're doing for a challenge on that. So we've given out tens of thousands of bottles over the years. And the reason why we're trying to do that is we want people to reuse, right? So you're just dropping this in versus using the single-use disposable bottle. Some statistics for you on this one. So 50 billion plastic bottles annually are disposed of, right? So think about that. 50 billion plastic bottles are disposed of annually. That equates to roughly 20 bottles per month per person. That's crazy, 20 bottles. And think about how the population continues to magnify, and you take this magnifier effect. It's just not sustainable for our planet. That's why we haven't done a ready to drink, to be clear. I don't think ready to drink is going away and will ever likely go away, because there is a need for it. There's a time and place where you need some hydration, you need some liquids, and you may not have a bottle with you or access to something. So I will say this, I completely get that. That being said, we need to curb our reliance on it. Here's a couple more statistics for you to put in perspective on plastic. So 1 million plastic bottles per minute is consumed by people globally around the planet. That first statistic, by the way, I believe was US. This is globally. 1 million plastic bottles per minute used up by people around the planet today. 91% of that is not recycled. To be clear, recycling is better than disposing in the garbage, but also recognize recycling actually is still not the optimal solution. A much better solution is reuse, reuse, reuse. I don't want to say reduce because I want to make sure you guys are hydrating properly. So obviously you need to keep hydrating, but definitely reuse, which is why we continue to give these away. One other piece of statistics for you to think about. Where does all this plastic go? Eventually, it moves from somewhere where it's littered, if it's not in the landfills, gets into the water systems. The water systems eventually leads to our oceans. If you haven't heard about the Pacific Garbage Patch as an example, look it up. It's a big deal, literally and figuratively. Here's some statistics on the Pacific Garbage Patch that we think we can help fix collectively as humanity around the planet, and Nuun wants to play its role. 7 million tons in weight of plastic is in what's called the Pacific Garbage Patch, basically plastic floating in the ocean, in the Pacific Ocean. That's 2 times an area of the state of Texas. Also note that it's 9 feet, up to 9 feet deep of where plastic is. Now, to be clear, if you're not familiar with this, it's not like you'll all of a sudden be in a boat and you run into 9 feet of solid plastic. They're little particles that break down, and you may or may not notice it. You will likely see some plastic, but you won't notice this 2 times of Texas of like, what? But it is all there, and that's what our fish are consuming. So here's the last statistic for you to think about. There's 6 times more plastic versus plankton, right, in this area, which is basically the main food source for the fish, the whales, the mammals that are out in the ocean in that area. That's staggering. So here's what we're doing about it when it comes from a Nuun perspective, and why we want you to partner with us on this. There's 2 different approaches that we believe in. We need to continue to work on being less bad, meaning let's how to reduce our footprint. That's why we do this, and that's why we give away these. The other thing we do that we're not going to talk about much here today, but we also say, well, what can we do that brings more good, right? So do well by doing good in business. So you may or may not know this, but we are a member of People for Bikes. We're also a member, so basically that's getting more human power out there versus auto power, and making bikes safer out there and getting more bike lanes in urban areas, as an example. We're a member of the Conservation Alliance, and that one is about protecting the spaces that I mentioned earlier, which is what this hat was part of that initiative. There are more initiatives that we're going to continue to do, but we're going to stay really focused on how do we get people to move more, and how does that correlate with the planet. So here's the challenge that I wanted to put forward for you guys. If you could do this. So today we have 1,200 pledges, and that pledge that was up there that Mason had on the screen earlier. We have 1,200 pledges, so that's the equivalent to saving 25,000 plastic bottles we've done. So the pledge this month, you're right, yeah, thank you. So the pledge is this, it's a 30-day, granted the 30 days are coming to a close, but if we can get more people to take this pledge, we're gonna continue it?
30 days to
Oh, I thought it was for the 30. Okay, awesome. You're starting on 30 days. I've totally followed through, by the way. To be clear, I honestly can tell you, I've said I won't use anything. And I've gone to a coffee shop, which we have one in our neighborhood, and I go there on the weekend. I'm like, nope. I walked back home, went and got my reusable, came back to the coffee shop, and then filled it up. So here's the deal. So we've got 1,200 pledges in. Can we get to 1,500 pledges? We don't have a visual of the costume, do we, Mason? No. Okay, so here's the deal. Here's the challenge. If we can go from 1,200 pledges to 1,500 pledges to pledge to basically not use single-use disposable for 1 month, that's it, 1 month. I will wear what we have as a new costume. So maybe we'll post it on social media so you guys can see it. I will wear that commuting to and from work for the day once we get that 1,500. If we can get it to 2,000, I'll do it for a week. And by the way, I'll also do that including when I do, unfortunately, this is a bigger carbon footprint, but I tend to travel a lot with my role. So I will wear it, I don't care whether it's commuting on my bike or whether I'm on a plane, I will wear that for the week for commuting. And I'll prove it with video on Instagram stories. So there's the challenge. Join me on that one.
Yeah, I think the question was around our use of turmeric in your community, and I believe it's potential to like stain a bottle or something like that. So, you know, we do have organic turmeric in there. It's a very, very powerful ingredient, and it does wonders for your body. It's also used as a natural coloring agent, you know, in a lot of products because it's got that pungent, very yellow, bright color. So it does have the ability to kind of stain your, you know, these kind of plastic base or, you know, the HDPE based bottles like the 72 million bottle right there. However, you know, after you're done consuming it, a quick kind of rinse or shake with the bottle, and even like if you just like really just take your finger, right? It's going to make like a little ring kind of at the top. If you just kind of scrub that off, it comes right off. Or if you just use a pint glass and then obviously just wash it after, it'll come right off there. So, you know, it's only going to really kind of damage, I guess, your bottle is if you kind of leave it in there for like several days and then not clean out the bottle.
Yeah, you know, just personal experience using it, and we've been using it in the office for a while, not staining any of the pint glasses, which where you'll probably typically use immunity. It comes right off. To Vishal's point, I think if you are going to use it in a water bottle and it's opaque, then not a big deal. But if you have a clearer water bottle, then you make sure you rinse that, to Vishal's point. But you should be good to go.
All right. And one about is Nuun nut-free.
It is. Yeah, it is nut-free. So we don't, in our facilities, don't process any nuts either. So yeah, one of the kind of the key things is we wanted to make sure the product was allergen-free on those top kind of main food groups within kind of gluten, tree nuts, and things like that. And yeah, we stay away from those type of ingredients.
Great. I think that's everything. Anyone, if we missed your question, you can email ambassadors@noonlife.com with anything that you have as a question for follow-up. With that, I think we're all set. Thank you, Lisa, Kevin, and Vishal for joining us. I think I learned a lot, and I think everyone else did as well. So everyone, also thank you for tuning in. This will be recorded and shared as well, so you'll have the opportunity to study up for the test. Just kidding. There's not going to be a test. Thanks, everyone.
Great stuff. Hey guys, send in your requests if you have any webinars you want us to do in the future. Thank you.